What's up, guys? It's Wolfgang back with another Dwarffish review, and we are going to go ahead and knock out the rest of this TMNT 2003 second wave. Splinter, Casey Jones, Foot Ninja. Let's get to it. That's right, guys, we're going to go ahead and get all three done in one go. I'm going to go ahead and give you a heads up. I love the Splinter. He may be one of the best in Super 7's catalog for me. He's certainly up there with the Turtles, but I'm just going to say it from the beginning here. I am not a fan of Casey and the Foot Ninja, and we're going to get into why, starting with the box and accessories. I'm going to show off all three boxes, and then we'll do accessories one figure at a time. All right, and for the boxes, first we've got the Foot Ninja. Character on front looks good. Everything looks fine, nothing on the sides. Just show you that color there. And then you've got the Foot Ninja on the back. Casey. So there's Casey's box. The art on the front looks like it is, same as on the back. You'll see what I'm talking about in the face later when you look at that. But the art, otherwise, on the front and back, looks like it is from some of the early art from the cartoon. Same as the Shredders and Splinters. So there is Splinter's box, and if you look, the colors on his outfit aren't quite right in that photo. And that both of those faces, but that face in particular, he looks high. But yeah, so I think those are all early art. But that's all the boxes. Pretty straightforward. And now that we're back from the boxes, let's jump into the accessories. And we are going to start with the Foot Ninja. The Foot Ninja comes with 3 heads and 3 sets of hands and then 3 different weapons. So the head that you see on him currently, and then the 2 closed fist hands, as well as this kind of kung fu hand here. 2 open fists for holding his katana or staff that he comes with. Another stylized hand, which has a pretty cool function I'll show you in a second. As far as heads goes, he has this one here. And I don't hate the mold, I just dislike the lack of paint on the head. I think this is the color of the head, and they just didn't really give it any more paint than that. And then he has a separate ninja head. And this one is a little more squinting eyes than the other. He's got his ninja stars. And that's where this hand comes in, because then you can put the star between to make it look like he's throwing the star. I actually like that. That's a pretty smart move there. He also comes with his staff, which I think is pretty well done. So I can focus in on that. There we go. Pretty well painted. And lastly, he actually comes with 2 of these, his sword. And unlike the Shredder review, I actually like this one more. It's still the plastic, but it doesn't quite feel as cheap looking. Whereas the Shredder's sword, yeah, because it was just all manufactured plastic, it just looked a little too cheap. This one I actually think turned out pretty good. So that's his spread of accessories, and I think overall they're pretty good, well painted for the most part. And a couple of neat little things there, like being able to put the throwing stars in the hands. I like that. Now, let's go to Casey's. And for Casey's, he's got a pretty decent spread of stuff. Starting with the weapons, he has 2 of these baseball bats, and I like the sculpt. You've got the nicks and scratches all in them. Both are the same mold. He's got this dinged up golf club. A little bit of paint missing off the handle. Could be by design. You've got this pretty beat up hockey stick, which I really like. They did a really good job with this. This is fantastic. So great job there. He comes with, of course, his weapon holder, which for the most part looks pretty good. No complaints. He comes with the head you see on him already in package, as well as those hands, as well as 2 fist hands for punching. And they look pretty good. The paint around them, pretty spot on. And then 2 open hands. And they're painted pretty well as well. And then he comes with his spare head. Now, this is probably the one accessory I'm not the best fan of. The eyes are a bit off. He looks a little wall-eyed. And I think the skin tone's right, but I don't think the face is quite right. If you look up some of the sources, I can see what they were trying to go for. But if you compare it to the cartoon, I don't think they nailed it. The one thing I do like, though, is they put the details in the hair, like they did with Splinter as well, which they didn't do for Orokusaki's head, which I still am frustrated about. But that is what it is. So I don't fully like the head as a Casey Jones from this cartoon, but I do like the head otherwise. I think it's fine. So that's Casey's accessories. And now we're going to get into Splinter's. And for Master Splinter's accessories, which I do believe is probably the best of the line in terms of spread and in terms of variety, you get the head that's already on him in package, as well as the hands that's already on him in package. For a second head sculpt, you get his closed eyes or meditating head. And it's pretty well done. See that sculpted in fur in there I was talking about. Eyebrows. And he has more sculpted in fur on the hands, legs, and the back of the neck on the figure. For hands, he has 1, 2, 3, 4 additional sets of hands. He's got these widespread hands, both right and left, excuse me, for stances. He's got this kind of gesturing hand, similar to the Foot Ninja throwing the star. He's got this gripping hand. Could hold a sword or some other weapon accessories. He's got 2 fist hands. Pretty well done. See the fur sculpted in on them. Just uncover that a little. He's got this gripping hand, which holds his staff. He's got this gesturing hand as well for like a karate chop or a block. And then, just like the other, he has one more widespread hand. Then we have his staff, which is pretty dang good. The grains in it is pretty nice to wash. They did a really good job with this sucker. And then the other cool accessories. So you get the little rat from him in the flashback when the Shredder killed his master. Looks pretty good too. And then you get not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 of these little baby turtles. You get 4 of them, symbolizing all 4 of his children, his ninja, his turtles. So that's a pretty good spread. I think he came with a lot of great stuff. Now that we've covered accessories, though, let's go ahead and get into all of the aesthetics. All right, and starting off aesthetics, we are going to cover the Foot Ninja. And overall, in paint, I think he's pretty good, except for one part I'm going to go ahead and point out at the beginning. Above his eye, if you can see it right there on the brow. Yeah, there you go. You can definitely see it right there on the brow. And the same with the other head. For some reason, there's yellow paint above both of the same eye on the brow, and I have had a hard time getting it off. That is a big, I should say a big, well, for me it's a big issue. I don't know if it's an issue for everyone else or I just happen to get a bad batch of QC'd figures. I am talking, of course, with Super 7, and they're working to make things right. But that's not even my biggest aesthetic issue. It's just something to point out that for some reason there's some QC problems with the villains. Well, I think the outfit looks good. I like the materials. And aesthetically, I think he matches and looks pretty well. I have a huge issue with him and Casey Jones in two aspects: it's the elbows and the height. Now, part of the reason that I hate the elbows is you can't get them straight. On every other figure, the Turtles, on Shredder, on all those, you can get the elbows to lock out completely straight. On him, it's a little less noticeable because he's wearing something baggy that's kind of creating that illusion. But if you notice, too, the joints touching right there. And it's an even bigger thing on Casey, making the turning joint in here almost null and void because it's hitting itself. So you can't straighten the elbows out, and that particular joint's hitting itself, so you can't use that hinge the way it was intended. Also, there's some paint mist there on the boot, I just noticed. But that's the least of my worries. So that is a huge thing for me. I am super frustrated with. And then the last thing is, for aesthetics, is height. So we're going to talk about it again in scaling. But I will say that while Casey and the Foot Ninja are in scale with most Super 7 product, they're not even in scale with their own line. Their own line is almost completely a 1/12 scale setup. If you look up their official heights and you scale them with other 6-inch figures, Splinter, the Turtles, and Shredder line up with 1/12 perfectly, where these guys, I don't know what they were thinking. They made them giants. So that's just something to think about. We'll show that off again in scaling and talk about it a little more in depth. But going back to the aesthetics of the figure, the logo is painted quite nicely on the chest. They did a good job there. Not a lot to him. The boots are done very well. Gauntlets are done well. Other than the minor things as far as paint goes, he's pretty good. Looks good too, actually. So that is the Foot Ninja as far as aesthetics goes. Now, we'll talk about Casey. And I hope you can see it a little more and it catches your eye now. Look at that elbow joint. You can't get his elbow straight. It looks ugly, especially on this arm. For me, I don't like that. But then looking at these joints touch, they're going to grind. I mean, you can't force it straight all the way. It's got a block on the lower end. And then see how it comes straight across on that side? That's so ugly. I don't know why they did it that way, but you can't really turn it on itself because it keeps catching there, and you can't straighten the elbow out. I really hate that. I'm sorry. It's a big hang up for me. Moving away from that aesthetically, the shirt's okay. A little bit of a issue there, QC issue there, but not horrible. Pants are pretty good. I like the stripe running all the way through. It's clean. Shoes are pretty clean. The gloves are fantastic. They did a really good job. I like how they painted the bandages and the gloves. Excellent on that. You've got a wash in the hair, which I really like. They did a fantastic job on that. Probably my biggest paint issue is honestly going to be the mask. So this is the most iconic look for Casey, is the mask, right? And my problem is a lack of paint. It's factory plastic, the same as Shredder's sword, so it looks a little cheaper in person. I don't know how you feel about it on camera, but in person, it doesn't look as good as it should, right? So I'm kind of iffy on that. It's better than the other head sculpt, and he's wobbly. It's better than the other head sculpt, but I'm not a fan of that. There's different references for how tan he is. I think this is about appropriate for his skin tone, so I'm not mad at that. Paint-wise, I think other than the mask, I really don't have a lot of issues paint-wise with Casey. I mean, you can see some noticeable differences like his neck versus his arms. Just a different kind of plastics take that paint a little differently and shine a little differently, so it is what it is. He's a little more glossy on the torso, but I'm okay with that. What I'm not okay with, too, is when you look Casey straight up and down, you notice his legs right there past the hips now pop out. That's not only is that not a normal human look, but that's also not how he looked in the cartoon. You cannot find any standing pose where the top of his thighs just pop out past his crotch like that. That's not how humans look, and that's not how the cartoon looked. So some aesthetic things I didn't like there. That's just what it is. Nitpicking, but that's the reality of it, right? So that's them. Let's, however, get into Splinter. Master Splinter, I think, is masterfully done when it comes to his aesthetics. I didn't mean to make that pun there, but that's what it is. I think they did a really good job, except for in one area, and I'll get to that in a minute. I like how they made the skirt flexible and pliable, and it cuts. And there's even a cut back here, so that way you can move the robe, not the cape, but the robe, so that way you can do different poses. No, his elbows don't bend straight. I know that was a nitpick on them because that's how it would be, but for a mutant rat, I'm okay with this look. I think most of the time you saw him with bent arms anyways. I think he looks pretty good with the way the robe covers over. They did really good on covering articulation. Maybe he's a little wall-eyed, so that is what that is. And then a little bit of paint left over from the nose right there, but that just came right off. So, pretty clean otherwise. These are hard plastic, so they won't just break on you, which I like. Yeah, I mean, for the most part, pretty happy with it. The sculpt is good. Articulation is great. I think he moves fantastic. My biggest gripe is actually the areas where the wrist pegs in. So if you look into the cuff there, I wish they would have taken and painted somewhere between this and this to get a shadowing or darkening effect into the robe itself, or had a little of his arm showing, whatever they could have done. I just think this feels flat and a little ugly, showing the inside of the cuff just like this. That is my biggest aesthetic gripe with him. Otherwise, I think it's pretty good. Even the tail looks fantastic. I thought it would be a bendy tail. It is not. It is on a kind of ball joint in there, but it is not a bendy tail. So if you try to bend it too much, you might break it. So be careful with that. So aesthetically speaking, I think Splinter looks pretty good. Pretty spot on. Yeah, once you get him in those poses, I think he looks pretty good. So I'm fairly happy with him. Aesthetically speaking, I do think he's one of the best of the line. Now, with all that being said, we're going to go ahead and look at articulation. So we're going to go ahead and start in order again with the Foot Ninja. I do like that you can get him in a bit of a bowing pose. You can get him in a little more of a bowing pose than this. But starting with him in articulation is he is on a head and neck double ball peg. So he can look down about that far, better than the Shredder actually. He can look up that far, better than the Shredder. Of course, Shredder has a helmet, so looking back shouldn't be too big a deal. But head there, and then with the neck, he's got a little more side to side there, and a little more down, a little more up, right? He can go out about that far on his arm, rotate all the way around, no problem. He's got a floating bicep, though it doesn't matter because the other part doesn't function like it should because these are touching. Double jointed elbows get you that far. You should be able to, if you're careful and you get it just right, you can kind of twist, but because of the way they built this, it doesn't twist around, so forearm twist does nothing. You've got a regular pin and hinge hand, same as the others. You've got a cut in the torso, same as the Shredders. It moves that far on your crunch. It goes pretty decent back on the crunch. You see in there, boom. Side to side, pretty good. I would say actually better than the Shredders. Yeah, that's that side. That looks great. And then you can mix it with the front, and the front's on a ball peg too, so you can get pretty far down, like a good bow there. And if you put it right, he'll actually hold the bow. And then mixing it with the back, pretty good. Twists just fine, even with the rubber catching it, but just be careful. You don't want to force it too much and possibly tear it. He kicks up pretty good. Kicks out to the side, really good. Of course, he's got his thigh swivel in there, and then double knee joint, and he's got swivel at both points of the knees. But again, the way they did the pins on this, it pretty much nullifies it. You don't really have much to the swivel. And then ankle goes down that far. Ankle comes up that far. Be careful, you might scratch your guard. And it's a little stiff, but you still got a pretty decent ankle rocker in there. So overall, he poses pretty good. Honestly, if he was the right scale, I'd be pretty happy with him. in spite of the elbow. There you go. That's the other thing you can see. See how you can see through the gaps. Hate that. But he poses pretty well. So I don't know why they made some of the mistakes they made, but I like what they got right with him. Now, let's check out Casey. And for Casey, same kind of head joint, double ball peg. His is a little floppy, but there's no neck joint there. I don't know why. I think he's the only toy so far on the line without a neck joint. I'm not certain why they did that, but he can look up about that far, look down only that far, not very. His head's real wobbly, but it can turn. Shoulder go past the others, not bad. All the way around, of course. Floating bicep, again, doesn't matter because they screwed up the elbow joints. Double elbow joint right there, about 90 or just a touch more. Regular pin and hinge, handles just fine. Torso bends down that far, back about that far. A little bit of side to side, twists just fine. You've got this right here, which is a ball joint. So you put them all together. You've got pretty good crunch there. Well, a decent crunch, a better crunch back. You've got same thing as the others. Kick up just fine. You've got your kick out just fine. You've got that joint in there so you can turn, but it won't line this up. So aesthetically, that might bug you. Double jointed knees, kicks out just fine. He can pretty much go kick his own butt, which is good. Again, these joints don't matter because of the way they did them. His ankle rocker and ankle itself, he can't do a lot because he's got these pants on. So the pants hinder him really hard, or really bad, I should say. So he can kick down about that far, up about that far, and that's it. And he's got an okay rocker, but it's really rubbing the pants, so he really can't do much with them. So he has less articulation than the Foot Ninja, and has a bobbling head issue. So yeah, not a fan of that at all. Not as good. I don't know what they were thinking on some of their choices. Just doesn't land the mark. That being said, now we're going to check out Splinter. All right, for Splinter, he's got a floating neck piece right here. Gives him the extra neck joint, so he can look down about that far. He can look up about, without moving that torso, about that far. He can tilt decently enough. He can turn his head decently enough. His arm goes up about that far, all the way around. Of course, you've got the bicep in here. You've got your double jointed elbows, popping pretty good. You've got the swivel in there is kind of hindered too, so I guess I should give him a few points off for that because that's hindered on all of those. I don't know why they did that. Regular pin and hinge hand though, the usual. Pop that in there just a little tight, boom. His torso, I think he doesn't have a cut in there. I think he's a single torso ball peg, so he doesn't have a crazy amount of range. So he can bend down a little that far, and he can push back, but you can play with it because of the way the legs are built. So not a lot of range there. His legs kick out pretty good in there, so you can see that. And the way they design it, that way it could kick out, which I like. Kicks out forward pretty good. Back a little bit. He's got that thigh cut in there, so you can turn that. I know it's tough to see, but he's got that in there. They even sculpted fur on his dingus area. Nice. Double jointed knee with the same kind of joint system. Let me just get that in there. Boom. Pretty good back. And then you've got this here, which rotates and is a joint as well, as you can see. So it can kick up, it can kick down, and that holds him, sustains him. And then his tail is on a ball joint and rotates, so he can stand pretty good, all things considering. I was actually kind of worried with the way they were doing this if you're going to have to depend on the tail, but not really. He can stand pretty decently on his own, provided you got him in the right poses. Yeah, pretty decent. So all things considering, maybe he's not the best articulated figure. The turtles are probably so far the best one, but I still think he is the best of this wave for what he is and what the design is. Now, let's move along to size comparison. And kicking off size comparison, here we have the whole wave together. And in the context of Super 7, I don't think that this looks too bad, all things considering. But here's where I get into my frustrations with scaling. Shredder in the cartoon is, the way they drew him, he ranges, although Rokusaki himself is supposed to be 6'1", Shredder in his armor ranges really closer to between 7 and 8 feet. Splinter is 4'10". Now, what I'm going to show you that this lines up with is this. So here I put a 6-inch ninja from Marvel Legends in the center to show you my issue with the scaling. In the show, like I was saying, Casey's only 6'1". Most of the foot ninjas are the same size in terms of height, and yet look how much drastically bigger they are than the 6-inch figure. Again, Shredder's supposed to be between 7 and 8 feet, Splinter 4'10". That all makes sense to the ninja in the center, and not to Casey and the foot ninja. And Casey, maybe you could smudge a little, but that foot ninja is huge compared to them. And they are lined up side by side. This is not like a trick of the screen. I've not got one closer than the other. So it's very puzzling to me because Shredder, Splinter, and the Turtles, as you'll see, scale pretty good. That's pretty good. The Turtles are 5'2" in the cartoon. So them being close to, let me bring this ninja scale out. So putting those two side by side, you see in scale in the cartoon, the Turtles are 5'2", and this ninja is approximately 6 foot within that realm. This looks good. This makes sense. But even bringing those two forward, you can still see that the foot soldier in the back stands too tall. And bringing them forward, you see now him and Casey are just the right height. So that's my scaling problem. They just don't fit each other. Super 7 did what Super 7 does in terms of Casey and the Foot Ninja, put it in the scale they usually make everything in. But Shredder, Splinter, and the Turtles are a little small for that line, but perfect for a 112 line. That's all I'm saying. If you look up their heights and you put them next to their figures, I'm just not happy with how big they made Casey and the Foot Soldier. It doesn't line up. That's a problem for me. Maybe not for you, but it is for me. All right, and now we're down to final thoughts. And honestly, guys, I have a hard time recommending the Foot Soldier and Casey, just based off of the issues that I ran into that I just don't like. Even now, I post Casey that way, and as I was doing so, I realized, look at how huge his arms are compared to his legs and the rest of his body. He's got, massive arms and a stick figure for the rest of his body. It's kind of crazy now that I'm looking at it. Hopefully that translates and you see it too, because it's pretty obvious now that I see it. Oops, bumped the camera. But let me just adjust that. Yeah, so bringing this to an end, guys, my overall thoughts, I think Splinter is amazing. The Turtles are still the best of the line. I still really love them. I think they are stylized perfectly. I think Splinter fits in well. Even the issues I had with the Shredder, I still like that Shredder. I think this is a tough situation for Super 7 because personally that first wave was perfect to me, or just as perfect as it is going to be, whereas this one's got a lot of glaring issues from articulation choices to QC problems, aesthetic choices. It didn't land for me the same. I'm not going to tell you not to get it. I'm not going to say I wouldn't suggest it. I am going to say if you're a hardcore fan of these particular versions of these characters, while they're out there before they go up, because I'm sure they will, grab them. But that being said, I would tell you, if you're asking my personal opinion, grab Splinter, grab the Turtles, grab Shredder, just make sure his QC is fine, and maybe pass on these two, just being honest. When I say these two, obviously Casey and the Foot Soldier. They've already announced Wave 3, which is going to be Hun. It's going to be April O'Neil. And it's going to be Raph on the bike, and then you get the bike, and each one of them comes with a special head for the bike so that they can all fit it. I doubt I'm going to do the bike gimmick. I don't know that I'm going to do Raph. I may get April just to review her. The only one in that line I'm interested in for the next wave is Hun. So I'm definitely going to get him. And I hope that these issues they ran into with this wave get rectified before we get to Hun, because I would hate to see them mess him up. He's a big guy, so what articulation he is going to get needs to be very detailed and important, so that way you can get some great posing out of him and make sure his scale is right, because he's huge, so he should look pretty chunky next to Shredder. But I've rambled enough. I'm going to bring this review to an end. Let me know in the comments down below what you think of the wave, who your favorite characters are, or your favorite versions of these characters are. My name is Wolfgang. Thanks for watching. Later, guys. I'm out.